about wanting to tell the truth at this moment about Taylor. There was a bit of dialogue that, because she says, but only to Lewis and Stevie, I have to be honest with somebody. They did cut out Stevie saying, why not everyone? And Zira saying, because truth can sometimes harm the innocent. And because I have a reason for wanting to survive, will you keep 2 secrets? Lewis says, if it'll do no harm. Zira says it can only do good. Then, and then Zira says, tell them, Cornelius. So we take out that moment where she's trying to say, I need to unburden myself of this knowledge. Right. I guess it was just unnecessary to do that because the pleading to him already to kind of talk about it does the job that it needs.
I think I have to support Zira telling the truth because they have to have allies in the past, our present, or our past too. And then maybe whatever they do now can alter the future so that apes don't don't blow up the entire world again.
And I would even think Hasline wants to know for that very reason.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure that and once again, the best villains are the ones that actually make sense. Their logic is about being the hero of their story. And I don't see him at this point hating the monkeys for monkey's sake. He hates them because of the eventuality that mankind's going to kill itself.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll go into the next one. But, Cornelius says, we did know Colonel Tanner. We came to love him. Stevie says, I don't understand what harm there could be in telling that to, and she was supposed to be, telling that to the commission. It was supposed to be a trail off, and Cornelius is supposed to reference in where we come from.
Yeah.
So we're now revealing some information about Taylor. I guess my point will be in the next minute. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about
my point
the
there,
revelation.
I get where you're going with that. My point to it is, so they knew and loved Taylor. Does that mean they knew and hated Brent?
Well, no. I'll tell you this. They knew and loved
did
Taylor.
Anybody really like Brent?
Nobody loved
He
Brent.
was pretty, but
they
that
knew
was
and loved
that's
Taylor
about all we
because
got.
they spent months with Taylor. Brent showed up for one day and then was gone.
Yeah, but
stole some food out of the kitchen and some clothes and ran off.
Yeah,
but we've said this before, though. The weird nature where the only person that they are concerned about people knowing is Taylor. At that point, you knew Taylor. Did you know any of the others? There was Skipper. There was, Brent. And you name off all these people. We met Brent. We didn't know him like we knew Taylor, and that even adds a layer to it. And you've now said Taylor was special to us.
I mean, would you, if you were Stevie and Lewis, would you be piecing together that they say they actually know Taylor and that they knew 2 humans that talked? I mean, if I were on the commission and they had just said 2 humans had talked in her experience, I'd be honestly thinking about the spacecraft. There's so many things. Left off the table, left on the table. There were so many things that were brought up in the commission that I'm like, I would have asked a lot more questions. I want to know these crazy things.
I do not yield my 5 minutes. I still have questions.
Because when she said she only met 2, it led to the Taylor question.
Well, when you consider 6 people went into the future and they met 2, why would they assume that they met Brent? Why wouldn't they not assume it was Todd or somebody?
I wouldn't assume, since they just found the one spacecraft, that they would have come into Brent. They might have thought Brent blew up in orbit.
But again, if you, in the commission scene, if you put up, how many times have you seen it in these type of governmental scenes? They put up an image on a screen of all 6 astronauts.
Yeah.
And that could even be the point at which Cornelius almost grabs Zira's hand and says, we can't speak, because they, instead of, you first look at Taylor, but then you look at the ones that you've operated on, and that's scary.
But then you put that image up of all 6 of them, and then they just go, all humans look the same to me.
That would be funny. That would be funny.
I can't tell the difference.
And it would make sense in the context of the movie itself. Yeah, it'd be really good. This is also a moment where we've got Cornelius and Zira pleading to each other. And while we talked about a good point for a better place for Milo to bite it, he definitely being an antagonist to this conversation would have been, I think, more beneficial than the 2 of them.
I agree, because right now it ends up almost being too much of a, for lack of a better term, a circle jerk between all of them, just sort of being okay and on the same page, and the scene has no tension other than the implied tension that we can't tell them what we did.
What we did or what we know.
And if you have somebody almost on the brink of just being honest for science sake and doing that, then there suddenly is an escalation of that. That's a great
Milo
point.
would have been nice to have in this moment too.
But, Salminia wasn't working, so we know it wasn't that he had a conflict of schedules. It was just that was a mistake. They should have kept him.
Yeah, he would have been good for the scene.
Yeah.
So basically what we have at this point is this minute gives us the hint of a villain who's got something coming up yet. And we've also got the revelation that, yes, they did in fact know Taylor. To their two companions, their two friends.
Right.
They loved him.
Yes,
they did. And Zira in a very special way.
Yes.
Zira does do this when she sits down and she and Cornelius have the conversation. Just when they're in the costume, they have to go so far to make this stuff work that you see her. I have to look at Lewis. I have to look at Stevie. I have to look at Cornelius. I have to look down. I now have to look back up again. I mean, she really has to move her head to give us emotions that everybody else would kind of have to keep and could do without moving as much.
She has to really play through the makeup.
She has to play through the makeup. Yeah, it's very obvious.
And as you said that, I found myself almost trying to exaggerate with my own face.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to. I mean, I was thinking about this when I was watching these scenes too, that they have to possibly not just enunciate, but probably even project a little bit more to get through the masks themselves. Maybe just a little bit, maybe not dramatically, but more than you would imagine.
Well, you even think back, when Star Wars referenced those people, Anthony Daniels said that it was impossible to do a scene with anybody because no one could hear him. So I'm sure anytime you put anything in front of the mouth, and I do wonder how much of their work is ADR after.
I don't know, because it doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't sound looped at all. But then again, do you want to talk about the easiest thing to fix? Because there's no lip sync. You just have to do more of, and as long as you get somewhat in the proximity, you fixed it.
Anime mouth flapping.
Yes.
But this is the moment where we get the Stevie fart face where she says, we did that with, we did fart face to, what's her hottie in the first two movies?
Nova.
We did the same.
What's her hottie?
Especially in the second one, she had a lot of fart face.
Well, but this is the shot that I'm talking about. We're getting these unflattering angles of Lewis and Stevie. You don't shoot an actor from down below up above if you're trying to make it flattering, unless you're trying to give them a dominant presence, right? I mean, that's the whole point of shooting up to down.
That was another reason I was like, what is that
But
shot?
I don't think they did that intentionally here, unless to your idea they were trying to create some type of tension. Like some type of judgment was coming down or something like that. But it's just, they're super lit. Stevie's given ugly face.
Right.
I mean, really, it's nasty. She's a gorgeous woman, and it's just not flattering. Lewis isn't giving us stink face.
Right.
He's just looking like,
Well, the thing that I found odd is instead of just doing one shot between the apes and the ones on them, do over the shoulders of Stevie looking down at them. Put her in the moment with them.
They'd look a little bit better.
It's a little bit more interesting shot. Then they're together, and especially depending upon how you put that frame and what lens you use, they're close together and they're working together. But right now, there is, to your point, there's a great bit of separation to the point where these dominant shots almost look like they own a position of power over the apes instead of being there with them trying to figure it out and help them. It's a weird choice of how to do the scene. But I also know that if that set is as little as it looks, they may not have had the real estate to do over the shoulders and look down.
I see.
Because it really looks like barely a backdrop with some carpet in front of it.
Well, I think what I really don't like about the light is that there's a really, really hard shadow behind every single actor.
I agree.
This really hard shadow that's unnecessary. And because they've got the picture frame right behind Stevie, you can just see all the lights they're flooding on her to make it happen. When they go to Lewis, because he's standing back against the bluish wall with the door, you don't see the lights as much. But when they go to her, I mean, usually they try to hide the fact that light has reflective properties in glasses and mirrors and things like that, and they do not try to hide it at all.
And this is one of the key takeaways when you look at this and why I say it's flat. It is lit flat, and it's lit for exposure so that they can turn the camera on and not have a problem with exposure because there's lights at every source.
Yeah.
Instead, what they could have done was, which is called using a wood cookie, a cutout of a window, blast light through it, and it puts the shadow of a window behind it, which adds texture. It makes us feel like there's a light source. People can have their faces somewhat in shadow. Is it harder to light and take more time? Yes, but it looks more truthful. And in that, you would have had moments where they felt intimate.
I know it would have been a continuity issue, but I'm just surprised they didn't take that photograph off that painting off of the wall, because that glass is just really making it look amateur.
It's the weird thing. I've never ever noticed this scene like this before watching it 1 minute at a time. But when you're forced to watch it, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, 1 minute at a time, you begin to think, "Oh God, what a boring presentation!" And it's a cool scene.
You would have caught that though. I'm sorry, when you blast somebody with that much light and you're looking at it, you're like, I'm catching reflection here. I'm catching reflection here. I'm catching light here. I'm catching this,
But at the same time, they're kicking that, trying to produce it and get it out the door.
That's what I was about to say. Before we know, this is late in the day. They're trying to make their hours and not going to overtime. So, come on.
We have this lit because of this. Let's correct 2
There's
shots.
so much light on her in this particular shot that it does look like they're shooting it at midnight, even though they're indoors. I mean, it does. It looks like they're really blasting it out.
Well, to your point too, it takes a very lovely woman, and not saying that a woman has to look pretty in every shot she's in. That's unrealistic, and that's the whole man crap that we give into. But it makes her look harsh.
It does.
It makes her look. It's very unflattering.
It is.
And because every time she gets fart faced, then that's exactly it. We're like, geez, what's Stevie's deal?
Do you think maybe some of it had to do with the fact that they had to really light up Cornelius and Zira in the moments sitting down? They had to show much of the detail in their masks. And
See, I think if anything, you want to underlight them so that it hides details in their mask, so you don't see the flaws as much.
Well, and Zira's having to be kind of shy about this revelation, and having a little more shadow on her might actually have more effect than having so much light on her.
So just this morning, I bought the Criterion Collection had a whole half-off sale of every movie. And one of the ones I picked up was Richard Brooks' In Cold Blood, which, if you've never seen, is the film adaptation of Truman Capote's famous novel. And it talked about how documentary and style Richard Brooks used, where it was truly moments of shadow consuming things. And there are famous examples throughout history. Citizen Kane uses this, but it's on my mind because of In Cold Blood, where there are moments where the shadows play a part in what you see. A person can sit in the shadows and slowly emerge into the light, and it gives the connotation they've had a revelation. There's a famous shot in Cold Blood where one of the killers who's about to be executed is standing before a window, and it's raining outside. Total accident. They put the light through the window, and the rain machine was going, and it made it look like the shadows were tears on his face.
Wow.
And so it added this texture. Yeah. You look at what could have happened here with Zira or Cornelius or something. Well, you don't have to be dramatic where they thrust out of the light, but it can just be turning to the light, and you're like, oh, there they are. So we fixed the problem. If you light it like that, you add so many more things to the scene, and that's just kind of why I wish it was there, because it's a good scene.
You don't want the Star Trek just to borrow light across her eyes.
Okay, I actually am a sucker for that. That is such a film noir, over the top kind of thing, but I love it. But it's all the conjecture of how would you do it if you had more time to do it.
Right. If you could break it down,
it doesn't hurt the scene really.
We don't know how rushed they are. Right. We don't know any of that kind of information at this point. Yeah.
Right. All right. Anything else, my friends?
No, that's it for me.
All right. That's minute 31. We'll be back tomorrow with, guess what? Minute 32.
Hey.
Until then, go to our website. You can find all of our social media links. Please follow us on Twitter. We are surprisingly getting more Twitter people every day.
Yeah.
This whole Twitter thing is crazy because try to interact with people, but they're finding us. We're finding people. You can go to Facebook. We have people following us on there, which they start reaching out. And I probably need to share that with you guys so you can be the ones that answer some of these things too.
That's fine.
I no.
Richard is our hermit. He wants nothing to do. No.
Thanks, but no.
So go find us. The great thing is when we're doing things like this, we'll let you know when new things are coming. We do like to hear from you, so let us know what you think. Anyway, till tomorrow, everybody have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.